Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're looking at this. Let's get right to the meat of it. I don't like to BS around. As a real estate professional, I have to stay on top of these type of things all the time. All right. All these things that are coming up, it's obviously for a reason. And we have to remove the hate, and we got to remove a lot of the fear and just start replacing with a lot of let's make sense of this. All right. Let's make sense of this. And I want to take it from different people's points of views. All right. So welcome everybody. Let's talk about the rulings that have just come up. Now, this is something that has come up if you've been following the real estate industry. If you've been following the industry, you'll understand the National Association of Realtors has come up with a ruling, not quite finalized yet. And please, just understand nothing is finalized yet, but we're getting some information on some reports and some lawsuits that have come to the conclusion that may hurt a lot of the industry in different ways, that may hurt the industry and help. And we'll talk about both ways. When we talk about the hurt, let's talk about that first. First of all, the ruling, for those that may not know, I've been in real estate for 24 years. So for much of that, things change often. And it's our job as professionals to stay on top of those rulings. We've got to stay on top of court cases and, what's going on because it affects our business. This is not something where we just get a license, overnight and express, oh, we're real estate agents. Some treat it as a profession, some treat it as a hobby. That's every profession. You will find that there's BS agents, realtors everywhere. You'll find that there's quality realtors and you'll find that there's BS agents, right? You'll find that there's quality loan officers and you'll find that there's some that don't do their job that well. Some loan officers, attorneys, it goes everywhere. Every single industry has people, bad apples and great apples, all right? I'm one of the great apples. I like to follow the rules because I like to keep my license. I don't know about you. Hey, mama, I like to keep my license. So I have to stay on top of these things. So when we look at the rulings, no one really knows what's really behind why all of this is happening. And in certain pockets of the United States, you may find this is not going to be a big deal. For those that have deeper pockets, this is not going to be a big deal for them. But for those that I serve low to moderate income buyers, it may be a big deal. This may be a big deal for you when it comes to being represented and you selling your home. All right, so let's talk about all areas. I want to talk about buyers, I want to talk about sellers, and then I want to talk about what's going on with realtors. We got 3 different pockets of people that we need to cover, so buckle up. All right. So this ruling comes up where you've got a lot of lawsuits that are coming up, and National Association of Realtors got involved. And when they're being tapped on the shoulders because some realtors aren't communicating and doing their job properly, this is when it could affect sellers not being happy, buyers not being happy. And then at the end of the day, it makes it look as if everyone in the industry is obsolete, we're not necessary, and none of us are doing our job. Right? And we know that that's not true. There are, of course, some bad apples of people who don't communicate. Let's say a listing agent is not properly communicating that this percent of commission is paid to help the sale of your home. And excuse me if I speak slow because I do want to watch what I say, just to make sure that everything's communicated properly. But if you have listing agents and brokers that are out here that are representing you as a seller of a home, and it's not properly communicated that compensation is paid to another person, another brokerage, to bring this buyer, if that's not properly communicated that that other buyer's broker, that buyer's agent working with that broker is necessary, then that communication could break down. That miscommunication from sellers could really just say, well, why is this other agent really involved? You seem like you did all the work. It could happen that way, okay? And so with that, there's a lot of filings and money that's on the table that's being sued to the National Association of Realtors. So their filings have come back. You can check CNN. It's all over the news as far as this court case is not 100% finalized until July of this year. So we'll know more after July of this year. So everything I'm stating is everything I know from National Association of Realtors to this point. So at this point, money has to be paid out. Corrections have to be made as far as the communication with realtors and sellers and buyers in the community. All right. So let's see how does that break down for a buyer. All right. So let's break down for buyers. How could this affect you as a buyer? Let's talk about past and let's talk about what's going on in the current sense. In the past, it was communicated to a buyer, and I'm not going to assume that everybody does the same thing. I'm going to share with what I do. In the past, it was communicated that when a buyer is sitting at the table and I'm communicating with the buyer, it's, going over the do's and don'ts of what not to do, and here are the things that I provide value to help you with this process. It's pretty much determined that the commission, the compensation for my brokerage could be X amount of dollars, whatever that number is, okay? But traditionally, in the past, that compensation could be paid by the seller of the property. So you may not have to pay that because that may be paid by the seller of the property. And that's typically been the case, right? All right, so buyers are thinking, great, the focus is closing cost, down payment, so I can buy this home. That was the past. They traditionally did not have to worry about a buyer broker commission, which could range anywhere up to, 3%. All right, let's just throw that number. It could range up to 3%. So now how many buyers, let's say on a $300,000 home, if they traditionally need to bring to the table down payment, which is 3.5% if it's FHA, traditional closing costs in Maryland are typically about 4%. So when you add that together, down payment and closing costs, that's about $21,000. That's how much a buyer would traditionally need to buy a home. So what we're saying now is, if this ruling goes into effect and a buyer needs to come up with buyer broker compensation, that could mean that buyer now needs another 3% of the sales price. So not just $21,000. Now that's another $9,000 that buyer would need if they want to be properly represented by their own agent, broker. How many of you are walking around with that $29,000? Some of you have it, some of you do not. This is where the buyer situation is like, how is this even fair to a buyer? How is this fair to a Black buyer, a brown buyer that may just be scrapping just enough just to get the down payment? Got it? Been renting for years, finally made it to this point, and now here's another hurdle because someone didn't communicate properly. I don't know, attorneys are involved to get extra money. I don't know where this whole thing is coming from. But when you take a look at it, it's going to hurt ultimately a buyer because there's more money now that's needed from a buyer. Okay, so I'm always preaching about extra streams of income, always get that done. I would never say walk out of here and get a home without being represented. But the way it was before was traditionally buyer, that compensation was typically covered for my brokerage by the seller of the property, right? So that's one cost that the buyer did not have to worry about. The seller understood from the beginning, if it was communicated properly, the seller understood when I list my home, these are the expenses to sell my home to net this amount of money. All right. If you want to net this amount of money, this is what it takes to sell your home. Here are the expenses to get out. And part of those expenses are compensation, marketing dollars, right? I would say out of the 24 years that I've been selling real estate, maybe 10% of my business I have sold personally. I have always used a cooperating broker to bring the buyer to my listing, right? I can't always bring the buyer myself. Let's be real, right, Gary? Right, Arlene? I may not know all of the buyers out there that can buy my particular listing. So we use cooperating brokers to be able to make that happen. Cool. shortens the time period, got a qualified buyer in hand, the seller is happy, they got their money, they can close within 30 to 60 days. Everybody's happy, all right? But something happened. We don't know what happened here. And we're just trying to figure out where this really is all coming from. So now for the buyer, I want you guys to know you need to be represented. And you need to be represented by someone who shows you that they can get the job done. That's been a problem for many people who just out here just thinking real estate agents just open doors and don't do shit. Right? We're just opening doors, right? Not knowing it might have taken 4 months for that buyer to make a decision. Not knowing it took maybe 7 offers that they didn't get to finally get this offer. Maybe it took them 8 months, 9 months. Who's been working with the client over a year? Ever. So is a buyer broker just an agent just a waste of time when you have no idea how much time it really brought to bring that quality buyer to the table? It's a lot of work involved. A lot of people don't see that behind the scenes. They don't see all the work that really is being done that buyers have to do to nurture that client. Lots of holding of hands, lots of listening to stories, crying, and just kind of going through that whole process. That's months. That's months of work. And then when we finally bring that buyer to the offer and there's no compensation there, the only place we have to get it from is the buyer now. Because in some cases, it might be, if it's not negotiated, and I'm not saying it can't be negotiated, if that commission, that compensation cannot be communicated that the seller is okay with paying a buyer broker, then the buyer is going to have to pay for that on their own. Got it? So just buyers, I want you to keep that in mind. More money might be needed from you if it can't be negotiated in your contract. Can it still be communicated in your offer? Absolutely. Absolutely. But if the listing agent lets you know that there's nothing there to pay you, then you may not be able to have that buyer. That buyer may say, well, I can't afford it. I can't afford to pay my closing costs and your brokerage commission at this time. We got to wait. Okay. So how it looks for the buyer going forward, we're not quite sure. Can the compensation be negotiated in the contract? Absolutely. Absolutely. And cooperating brokers, especially in the Maryland area where I work, I don't see that being a problem. So that's good news, is that I really don't see that being a problem, but it might be. It might come along where that conversation does need to be, hey, buyer, this particular house that you love, that we looked at this afternoon, has everything that you need. But here we are. Remember, we had the conversation about compensation. We're now at the crossroads. That particular home is not paying a compensation. So are you okay with paying the difference? And the buyer could say, yes, I have it. Let's move forward with the offer. Or they're going to say, nope, I don't have the money. Let's keep looking. So what does that create? More deflation in the market for brown buyers like myself that might be looking to move to their first home, but they can't. Okay? So let's look at sellers now. Let's switch gears and talk about the sellers of properties now. In tradition, in the past, it was a cost to do business that compensation to sell your home could range. And I'm not going to sit here and say what that is, because that could range depending upon what needs to be done. It could range anywhere up to whatever percent you guys negotiate. That's negotiable. That's always been negotiable. So please don't think that every house to sell is 6%. That's always been negotiable. All right. So here we are, sellers looking to sell your home. I want you to start thinking, traditionally, you knew that there were some costs to sell your home. You knew that when you sat down at the dining room table with that listing agent, what it costs to sell this home. And part of that was compensation to brokers, one to the listing broker and one to potentially the agent, bringing that buyer to the table, which could have taken months, years to finally bring that buyer so that you can move on with your life and walk away with the check. Okay. So are buyer agents necessary? if it brought you a sale so you can net money, I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes. So sellers, now you're sitting at the table. You're like, all right, I see what it costs. Not a problem. When a client comes through those doors and they have an agent that is representing them, not a problem. I understand that that commission, that compensation could be split between the listing broker and the buyer broker. Not a problem. Let's fast forward to today. This ruling now says the seller doesn't have to pay anything to a buyer broker. Nothing. You don't have to. So here's where communication has to be with listing agents. This is where the communication has to be. And they now have to present themselves and say, now you can choose not to pay. Let's just say you pay half of the traditional amount. Let's just say you pay 2 or 3% to the listing broker. That's it. And if you choose not to, let me tell you what are some of the challenges that you may come across. 2 main things that's going to happen. One, you're going to shorten the pool of buyers that can actually purchase your home. Gotcha? All right. And what happens is if you had a bigger pool of people, qualified buyers who could purchase your home, it's now to the point where because there's no compensation there for that buyer broker to bring them through the door, you shorten that pool now. So the second thing that's going to do is your home is going to sit on the market longer. I don't know statistically what that number would be, how much longer, but it will be longer. And in some markets, it could be a very long time. Maybe on the West Coast, not affecting too many people. But maybe on the East Coast, where I have more buyers that may look like me, it may take a little bit longer. So the sellers that I speak with, like I had a listing appointment this week, and she's like, of course, put the compensation on the table, bring the buyers so that we can get to the settlement table. And I'm like, you're thinking smart. You're thinking smart. And so those are the kind of conversations that we have to have with sellers. It's your choice. You want me to just sell this and find a buyer on my own? Do you want me to do this by myself? Or would you like me to extend it the way it has been? Do you want me to extend the compensation as it has been to allow a broker, another to come? I work for Sampson Properties in Bowie. All right. So if someone comes from Remax and has a qualified buyer, you're in the door, ratified. If someone from Century 21 brings a ratified buyer, great, let's do it. As long as the offer is accepted by the owner of the property, they're good. But if we wait for Lorie to bring that qualified buyer, that may take more time. So seller, are you okay with that? Are you okay with waiting? Some may say yes. Most of my folks are going to say no. We're not waiting. Put the cookies on the table and let's bring that buyer broker in here. Pay that cooperating person. All right. So that's that. That's between buyers and sellers. That's the then, and this is the now. Now we're talking about real estate agents. How is this going to affect real estate agents going forward? The strong will survive. I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I've been in the business for 24 years through so many ups and downs. And for those that are veterans in the business, either you're going to be in or you're going to be out. Like you don't let these things trip you up. Whenever there's a nuance in the business, you flow with it. Like, all right, make it work. Let's make it work. And now as realtors, you've got some that don't do their job. Oh my gosh, they don't do their job. And then you've got others who are dotting and crossing. They're on it. And that's the one that you want to make sure that you vet and you have working for you. Listing your home or helping you buy a home. Those are the ones, the quality ones that you want to help you buy a home and sell your home. So even the listing agents could be somebody, let's say brand new, inexperienced, or just lazy. And that person may not be the one that you want representing you to help bring you a buyer. If the seller chooses not to pay any kind of compensation and you have a lazy realtor or someone who doesn't know that they need to order the condo docs, or someone who doesn't know what the condo delinquency is, they don't know if the condo is in any kind of delinquencies. They don't know. They're like, oh, the seller didn't tell me. Did you ask? It's your job to figure out these things. So if you're working with that type of person anyway, hey, they're going to get cut out anyway. But the strong will survive. So realtors, what I'm speaking to you is make sure that you communicate to your clients. They have options, they do. And as a buyer's agent or a listing agent, you have to properly communicate so that you don't lose your license, you don't lose your reputation, all right? And you don't lose deals because you didn't properly communicate to your other counterpart. Your client is everything and you owe them everything. People are losing their license because they don't do shit. And they're costing us money overall. Okay, so do your job, communicate with your clients, and make sure that you let them know about the new rulings of what's going down. Don't avoid it. Don't just dance around it like they can't pick up Instagram and the news and pick up what's going on. You've got to make sure that you have these quality conversations with your clients. All right. What is this going to do for the real estate community? For listing agents, you're going to have to do a lot more work. Okay. You're going to have to do more work, more communication, more patience, and more marketing if your seller is not going to pay any compensation to anyone else. All right. You're going to have to go back to ads. You're going to have to go back to doing things so that you can sell this property quickly. Realtors, on the buyer's end, you need to make sure that you communicate with your buyers. There may be a chance that you're going to have to pay my brokerage this amount of money to help you find a home. You got to communicate that. All right. Is this going to kick us all out of the business? Hell no. But the strong will survive. All right. There's two agents, and I love it because there's 4 people that typically balance out a deal. You've got a seller and a selling broker that helps them sell their property. That's one side of the transaction. On the other side of the transaction, you have a buyer and you have a buyer agent broker that's on their side, right? So you've got 4 people that are typically involved in a transaction. Let's just say the listing agent is not as strong and swift on their game. But the buyer's agent's a little bit more experienced and they can finesse the deal to make sure the questions are asked. Hey, did you get this form? Hey, we forgot this. That happens. So that balances out everything. So is a buyer's agent necessary? It does help. It does help, especially when you need your buyers represented. Okay. I had an accident. I had a car accident last year. And I didn't have a whole lot of damage to my car, but I came into my office and the account executive was like, why are you trying to handle that with attorneys on your own? This is a perfect example of why a buyer should be represented. All right. And so I thought about it. I'm like, practice what you preach, Lorie. Why would I try to handle this car accident? Like, I know how to drive a car. I've been driving it for years, but this is an accident. How do I know how to handle this from beginning to end and I'm not being taken advantage of? Go upstairs and get an attorney. That's what she said. Go upstairs. There's a great attorney upstairs. I'm like, you're right. I don't pay an attorney until they win the case. They don't win, I don't get any money, neither do they. So it's in their best interest. It's in their best interest to work as hard as possible. That attorney was keeping me updated every single week, what was going on. All right. Had I just gotten through that situation, the insurance company for the person that hit my car was at fault. So they were just going to cut me a check for $1,500. Good luck. Get your bumper fixed, Lorie. And that's it. That's all I would have gotten if I would have handled that case myself. I didn't know all the legalese of what they need to do to make it happen. So because my attorney was involved, I sat back and I said, I'm in great hands because I know that I'm being represented by someone who's got my best interest. And I know she wants to get paid. Her firm wants to get paid too. And they know what they're doing. No more than 45 days later, she's letting me know we're going to go for $5,000, but I'm actually going to ask for $5,500. Let me see what we can do. Okay. By the end of that afternoon, the attorney calls me back. I got $5,500 for you, and you still got the $1,500 from the attorney, from the insurance company, excuse me. So I would have left $5,500 on the table if I, Lorie, just tried to call the insurance. Hey, Geico, I got hit in the bumper. What can y'all do for me? They don't want to pay out money, but the attorneys know how to talk that talk. And I got not only 1,500 for the bumper, but I got 5,500 because they know how to negotiate. Got it? So the moral of the story is get representation. Do not think that going into this type of real estate deal, oh, I can just do it by myself. Remember this story that I just shared with you? Yeah, I could have gotten my $1,500 check and that's all I would have gotten. All right. But I also left 5,500 on the table. Same thing. If you're going in unrepresented, you're like, well, I don't even have the money. I'm just going to go right to the listing agent because that's the house I like. I don't have this extra 3% to pay. I don't have this extra 3% to pay the buyer broker to represent me. So I'm just going to go to the open house, check out this house, and I'm going to just write an offer with the listing agent. Remember this story, okay? If you're not represented, you're not represented. And you're not going to have your best shot at having a fair deal. You're not. So all of these folks online, I'm looking at the comments. I'm like, we don't even need realtors. I'm like, okay, until you need one. Until you need one to get you out of some shit. All right. So attorneys can do a bit of work, but again, let's deal with someone specialized that will pick up the phone, that can show you houses and give you local advice, give you resources, and not just give you conversation on a high level. Okay, like they've never been there before. All right. I can't take my attorney and show me properties. Hey, what do you think about this kitchen and things like that? First time buyers are uneducated on the process itself. I'm not going to tote my attorney around and like, I know you can write this offer, but can you come inside the houses and kind of help me with the process? You know, what am I looking for in the kitchen? What am I looking for in the garage? Like, what am I looking for? That's what your realtor is for. So think about this when you go to the open house and you think, buyer, I could just go to the open house and I'll work directly with the listing agent. How can a listing agent serve good and evil at the same time is my question. And I'm not saying we're evil, but I want you to think, if the seller is represented by a listing agent, what amount of money do you think they want to capture? The most. You come along, if that house is listed for $300,000, open house, it's pretty, it smells good, the cookies were just being baked. And you walk in there as an unrepresented buyer and you're like, I like this house. What do I need to do to make it mine? They want $300,000 for that home. You didn't do your research. You didn't have anybody helping you do research to know that offer really should have been 220. 220, maybe 250 at best. But you want to go in unrepresented because you don't have the commission or the compensation to pay the broker. So you go the cheap route. Be careful with that. Because you not being represented, uneducation at this time could cost you more money down the line. So I see NAR picking up more fines. I see them picking up more lawsuits. There's 400 million that needs to be paid out now. I think that's going to be double or triple after this whole ruling comes out. Because you have an uneducated buyer that might be coming in, first time home buyer, right? They've lived in apartments, they live with their parents. This is their first home. And you're just saying, yeah, 300,000, yay. You don't know about any delinquencies if it's a condo. You don't know how healthy the condo management is. You don't know these things because the seller's agent doesn't have to tell you that. They represent the seller. They want 300, you want to do 250. How is that going to work? How is that? So who's negotiating on your behalf? No one. So you're going in unrepresented. You're trying to fight that battle by yourself. You didn't know you had to do a home inspection, so they waived that, and you're now sitting at the settlement table with an unhealthy situation that could cost you money if you go to closing. Okay, so I'm just sharing these things with you, that how I see the buyer broker, the buyers are going to be misrepresented if this compensation is not there to handle that. If you've got a client that has the money to go ahead and pay, then this type of conversation is really not for you. But I'm talking to the ones that look like me and the ones that work in my community that this may be affecting them. And nothing like the ordinary. We always fight a good battle. But buyers and sellers and real estate agents may be affected, but you can get through this. Y'all know I always look at the upside. You can get through this. Realtors just properly communicate why this is important to have an agent represented. Buyer brokers, buyer agents, do your job and properly communicate value with your clients. They need to see that you're working for them, not just working to get a check. Customers can pick up that. Clients can pick that up. If they know that you're just leading the process to get to a check, clients know that. Okay. Yes, it's at the end of the day, we know we're getting paid from somewhere, but we don't need to lead with that used car salesman type of mentality just to get you to the table. I care to hear why you're moving. I was out with a client yesterday. She's disabled. I go pick her up. Okay. I'm not trying to figure out, hey, how can you get to the showings? You know, can your son bring you? I'm not asking those type of questions. I'm picking her up. We looked at 2 condos. All right. We're about to sell her property. So I'm helping her with 2 transactions. I'm helping her sell her home. And we went out looking at condos just to see what's out there. Now, at the end of the tour, I drop her back at her home, and her kids accidentally locked her out. Locked her out. So she couldn't get in the house. So what I could have done was get in the car, hit reverse, see you later. Because what she told me was, go ahead, I'm going to just wait here in the garage. I'm going to call my kids and they can come open the door for me. And I was like, aren't you hungry? Didn't you say you wanted to eat? Let's go get something to eat. I didn't even ask a question. I didn't even ask. But if I left her there in the garage, it's raining outside, even though she's in the garage. What if I just left her in the garage? It's okay. What time are your kids coming? They're coming from Silver Camp Springs, and she's in Bowie. So that's at least 30 minutes. And it was around 5 o'clock. So what if I just left her there, disabled, in the garage, just so that I can get to my next destination? She sat in the car and we talked, and she says, no one is nice like you. Like my kids and I, we go back and forth, but no one's nice like you. I really appreciate you. And for her to say that, like she's a zinger type of girl. Her and I can go back and forth with lots of sarcasm, but she says, you're nice and you didn't have to do that. So if I led with money, her ass would have been left in the garage. See you later. Maybe next time when we come, you'll get your keys, you do the right thing. But that's the step above that realtors need to do to make sure they show their clients they care. That it's not just about, yes, we care because this is how we make a living, but let's not lead with that, because the more I lead with care, empathy, the more I get more referrals like her. So all I'm saying is, for real estate agents, will this be a change? Yes, but communicate so your buyers and agents understand that. For buyers and for sellers, will this be a change for you? If it's communicated properly, it won't be any disruption for you if you understand what it takes to sell your home. And it takes 2 to really sell your home. Could your listing agent sell the home by themselves? Yes, but understand the timetable could be longer, right, to find that buyer. So as long as they understand that, just communicate that with them. And for my buyers out here who are looking, make sure you have everything in place. You interview realtors to make sure it's a good fit for you. And you sign a buyer agency agreement, always. I don't start any work or research until that contract is signed. And you shouldn't either. Because the difference between a customer and a client are 2 big things. It's whether I call you back. It's whether I call you back, okay? A customer is just, hey, do you have information on this property I just saw online? I could try to give it to you, to be fair, to be nice to customer service, I can. But as my client, I'm obligated to get you that information in a timely manner. So for those that are out there and say, oh, realtors, they take their time and they don't call me back. Are you a client or are you a customer? Makes a difference because my clients get top notch. You get called back quicker. A customer could be someone on Facebook Marketplace. That's just, is this still available? You know how that goes. Is this still available? They're just breezing through. There's no commitment there. So I don't have to get back to you, that person. Would I? I would. Okay. And here's the last example I want to share with you when it comes to someone not being represented. I get a lot of leads off of Facebook Marketplace, rentals and people looking to buy a home. I get a lot of leads. Over the last 8 months, probably over 380 leads just from Facebook Marketplace alone. All right. Facebook Marketplace is one of those tricky places where you don't have any committed people. You just have people kind of zooming in saying, is this available? And they leave. They never come back. There's no commitment. That's a customer. But the ones that come in and say, I'm ready to work with you. I need to hear a little bit more about your process. I'm ready to work with you. I'm signing a buyer agency agreement because we go together now. We go together. I want you to work for me. Then that means that you're a client now. That's the difference. But I don't owe you anything until you sign that buyer agency agreement. So my opinion, make sure that you get that buyer agency agreement completed and signed by you and the agent, your buyer agent, pronto, so that you can get the best information, the best respect, the best in time. Here's an example of what happens when you deal with someone on Facebook Marketplace, all right? Facebook Marketplace, again, there's no commitment there. So I'm dealing with the client here, and it wasn't me personally, but let's just give this example. I'm dealing with someone that may have less than perfect credit. Surprise, all right? On Facebook Marketplace. And they go on there and they're like, I want to buy this home. And I'm considering, I want to look at this house tomorrow at Wednesday, 2 o'clock. That's a customer asking me to get up to show you my listing or a house I have for sale or rent Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Do I need to show up for that person? Do I need to show up? It'd be nice, right? But I don't know anything about that customer for safety purposes, income purposes. Do you even qualify? But you want me to show you the property Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Okay. So I have a personal process, a questionnaire to fill out. You know how many people think that's a scam? I'm like, I'm doing the right thing to get you properly qualified before I get up out my seat and leave to show you this property at Wednesday at 2 p.m. You want me to do nothing but show you the property, and you could have had a bankruptcy yesterday. You don't even have a job, but you want me to show you this property Wednesday at 2 p.m. I got to drive there, by the way. All right. So the difference between a customer and a client makes a difference on how we move. Sign the buyer agency agreement if you're serious. None of that. I'm just checking things out. I just want to see how the house smells, and I just want to come past and look at the inside. I want to just see what it's like. Realtors don't have that kind of time. The good ones don't have that kind of time. So be very careful when you are just saying, realtors don't have time to show me houses. Are you qualified to look at the rental? Did you give them an application ahead of time? Did you show them any financials or any ID to show that you're serious about this? Then they don't need to move. They don't need to move. I'm not moving out of my seat. I'm not moving out of my seat. But for those that fill out the questionnaire, ones that fill out the application, I see your income, I've seen your credit, I've seen your ID. Let's go. Now I see you qualify for this home that we can look at Wednesday at 2 o'clock. But what if this house is listed at $2,000 a month? I look at your income, I look at your credit, and you're like, you're qualified at $1,200 a month. Am I going to stop what I'm doing to just show you this and you don't qualify? This is the reason why there's a criteria set up. Good agents just take you out. Great agents are going to pre-screen you and make sure that you qualify for what the hell you said you wanted. You could be the determination. Are you a good agent or a great? And then you also have to think about this when you hear it. Am I a good customer or a great customer? Or am I just wasting time? All right. So even if it's a rental property, yes, I do have an application that I need you to review. All applications will be reviewed, and then we can show you the properties that match what you're approved for. I'll be waiting on you. All right. That's how I do. Now, for a property that you're looking to buy, it's the same process. Many of these properties, Mrs. Buyer, Mr. Buyer, definitely want to make sure that they have pre-approved buyers and sellers coming through. Have you already taken that process? Are you bringing cash to the table, or are you financing the deal? What's the best way for you to get into this next home? Are you cash or finance? And they're like, I don't know yet. Well, let's do that first, because we want to make sure that we're showing you the right homes. Since you said you got to be in by July and you said you wanted, this amount of payment, let's make sure that we're tailoring everything right. That's what a great realtor does for you. So be very careful. If no one's asking you any questions and their realtor is just showing you any properties, they're not that educated on the process, and they really just don't care about time. So be very careful on how you move, buyers. Be very careful, renters, when you don't sign a buyer agency agreement, that you could be subject to the backseat. You're not a priority. Not that we don't care, but the priority has to be with those who have taken the steps to sign the buyer agency agreement, get their credit pulled, get their income reviewed, because they're serious. So don't take offense. Just get yourself together is all I'm saying. Just get it together. So all of those people on Marketplace, they're going to stay there. And I've looked to see during the questionnaire, how long have you been looking for a home? 6 months, a year. I'm like, how in the heck are you out here looking? I'm like, now I know why you're out here looking so long. You don't know that you can get an agent to represent you. You don't know that. You're hanging out on Marketplace as if this is the only place to find a home, and it's not. So for those that are renters out there surfing on the internet, Zillow and Realtor.com, you're wasting your time. If you're serious, then you're going to connect with a buyer's agent that can best represent you. That will shorten that time, get your stuff together, help you package it together, help you get your credit together, tell you what kind of resources you need to get for money, for your down payment. They're shortening that time period for you. But if you're out here just realtor.com and I saw it on Zillow and I'm going to check with the for sale by owners on my own, then that process is going to take you longer. That process is going to take you way longer. All right. So those are the only explanations that I can see when I'm asking people, why has it taken you so long to get to me? Because I was doing it on my own. Okay. So now we know the difference. Connect with the real estate broker as soon as possible. Let them discuss with you what needs to be done, and don't be scared of what those answers will be. If you've got to get your credit together, stop running from that. Credit runs this whole United States, so you can't get anything without it. Try to get car insurance without it. Try to get utilities on without it. Try to rent an apartment without good credit. So don't run away from the problem that your realtor is actually trying to help you with. All right. So I just wanted to break in here. I know it was a little bit longer than I thought, but I wanted to let you guys know there's so many different sides to this. Don't get worried. Just get educated. Communicate with your clients, and make sure that you don't fear what's going on, but you just get yourself in position. This is one of the main reasons why I speak a lot on multiple streams of income. You've seen me talk about dispensary. You see me talk about cannabis. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Because it's extra money. You've seen me talk about different streams of income for years. And when I talk about a cannabis dispensary, on how you can get percentages of money every single week because people are buying it anyway, then you'll understand why this pocket, thank you. You'll understand why this pocket shouldn't even matter to people, because you're like, oh, okay, I got my regular income, but I also have the secondary income. So this, if it comes up, shit, I just need maybe 30 to 60 days to get my shit together. That's it. Money should not be our problem. So I want to make sure, if we need to have a discussion about money, that's right. we need to have money for biscuits for Red Lobster, right? I didn't, and Gary, to be honest with you, when I take a look at income that I make on a regular basis, I have a sales position, I'm a real estate agent, right? And I'm a business coach. When I take a look at when I need something personally, I need to be able to be sure I can pull that biscuit money for Red Lobster or for extra things. I need to make sure that I can pull that from the secondary source of income that I have, right? So I got to be able to show the play money. I got to have that play money, and you do too. So this is the reason why CBD and all of those kind of dispensaries, I don't care what you think about it. I'm looking at on Friday, what does the ending balance say? What does the available balance say? Cool. I'm going to Red Lobster. I needed a biscuit fix. All right. That was just it. So that was that. No matter what your fix is, you got to make sure that you've got that extra. Got it? So if you need to talk to me about the extra streams of income, let me know. I love having those type of discussions. And definitely check my Linktree link out so that you can see the other 20 options that I give you that you can work from home, that you can make at least $1,000 a week. And the cannabis industry is actually included in that ebook. So I have an ebook that shows you 20 different ways that you can earn extra income from home. And from home, people love that right now. They love that right now. So check out my Linktree/Lorie Woodruff. Check out, it's in my bio everywhere. Check that out and just look for it. Download it. It's Saturday. Relax with it and just find out, what do I need to do? Because when things like this happen and something else will come up in the future, you don't need to be tripped up over the money part. There's got to be multiple ways coming in so that, hey, this is new. It's not going to take you down. But for those experienced real estate professionals out there, stay on your craft. They're not worried. We're not worried. But for the newbies that just came in the business who thought it was just a quick check, see you. This is not for you. This is a real business. You see, it's a real business. This is not play. It's a legally binding contract. So why would you think that you could just do this shit on your own? Think about that. At the top of every contract, have someone to be able to negotiate these terms for you. If you're a manager at Target, you're an IT professional, or you work at a car dealership, that does not make you a professional that you can just walk in and say, I could just do this shit on my own. I don't need an agent. I don't. And I want you to remember this story that I told you. I got in a car accident. I was going to settle for $1,500 from Geico. That's all they were going to give me. But because I had an attorney representing my best interest, I walked away with $7,000. Thank you. She got paid, the attorney got paid, their firm got paid, I got paid. I'm happy. But I got what I needed because I practiced what I preach. Have someone represent you all the time. Could I do my taxes, Mr. Copeland? Yes, I could. I could sit there and figure out TurboTax if I really wanted to, but will I have the consultation and questions about my business that I really need? Contact Benjamin Copeland if you need a tax preparer, tax strategist. Contact him. He's very good. Benjamin Copeland, Benjamin Copeland, Benjamin Copeland. And definitely great for self-employed people. But again, I speak that. Can I do my own taxes? Freak yeah, I can do it. Am I going to do it the right way? Probably not. Something's going to get missed. Something's going to get missed. And I don't want to lose my license. I don't want to have to pay extra money if I don't need to, if I just did the right thing of making the call to a professional. So remember this, guys, this is not the end of the world. You guys make sure that we connect if we need to talk about those extra streams of income. If you have some questions about what's going on in real estate, sit down with your realtor, sit down with me, whoever you are in front of right now, and have that conversation about what does this mean for you? What does this mean? Whether you're selling a home, buying a home, sit down and just say, or Zoom, or do a Zoom and find out, what does this mean for me? And they'll let you know. And you want to interview at least 2 to 3 so that you can get a good temperature on, is this person for me? Does this person have my good interest, or are they just zooming through to get how many bedrooms? Huh? What's the payoff? If they're just getting through that, you'll know, is that person for you or not? All right. If you're an investor looking to get in, you don't need an agent representing you. Just understand your best interests are left on the table when you do that. When you're a first-time buyer, if you go in and you just say, I'm just going to go to the open house, I'm going to go to the agent, the listing agent, they don't represent you. Your rights, all the things that you could have gotten negotiated for you are left on the table, gone. If you went to the listing agent, they represent another person, not you. They represent someone who wants the highest amount of money and wants to do the least amount of work. You want closing costs. You need a 60-day settlement, not 45 days. You need some closing costs. You need a little bit more. Hey, that light fixture, can they fix that? The seller's like, no. But if you had someone representing you, that could have been negotiated some kind of way so that you get it done. There's a lot of times real estate professionals, we do things behind the scenes that you don't even see, buyers and sellers. We do so much behind the scenes so you don't get tripped up with BS or worry or fear. There's lots of things that we don't even tell you that we handle. We just get it done. So imagine if you had to do all of that, still go to work, deal with your family, deal with the financing. It's a lot. Why put yourself through that? All right. So don't worry about everything that's going on. Stay tuned. Don't fear, but stay in touch with real estate professionals so that when you are ready to make that move, you stay in touch with someone who's got your best interest. But you guys definitely chime in if you have any other questions for me. As a real estate professional, as a business coach, let me know if you have any questions or concerns. And if you need to get that ebook on the 20 different ways that you can start earning money from home, go to my Linktree link, click on that today, download that ebook so that you can start working on what are some options that I can bring in some extra income so that money is not your concern. All right, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys very soon.